All right, let's just go ahead and get started for today. Thank you for coming to our webinar on building an SOP manual. Hopefully you guys can all see my screen with the presentation. So today we're going to talk about an SOP standard operating procedures and how you would go about putting one together and why you might need to. So again, we're going to talk about the benefits of creating a standard operating procedure, things you should consider when you're building one, and then some resources that we provide to help you on that endeavor. So some benefits of creating a standard operating procedure. The first one is consistency. If you have a standard operating procedure for entering a name into Student Manager, everyone's doing it the same way, then you're going to get the same information, hopefully, in there every time. It's going to reduce your errors because they're using the same procedure every time. And we all know that once you get used to doing things a certain way, it is just easier all around. And then lastly, it's easier when you have somebody new and you're training them, because even if multiple people have a hand in their training, they're learning the same procedure no matter who is showing them how to do it. So here are some things to consider. For your personnel, their levels of access, or if there are different groups that collectively need a certain kind of access, they're assigned tasks. So if you have folks who are just registering people and you don't want them to have access to the payment information or the financials, you can sequester that group in that way. And then we also have the keeper of the flame, which has the kind of the all-powerful person in each unit. With Student Manager, we like to keep that group fairly small so that everyone doesn't have the access to change everything. And then you want your standard operating procedure to be easy to use as far as how it's organized and providing a table of contents. I am going to hop over to, we actually have a resource on our website. Can you all see that? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. That is kind of a walkthrough for a standard operating procedure. We built it close to a decade ago. We really haven't changed it because we really haven't had a need to change it. So on there, you can see where's your table contents, and then it gives some general information. But then it's got places for you to put in information based on your unit. So each power level, what kind of access they're going to have to names and registrations, their preferences, making sure that they apply to some folks don't need to see necessarily all of the fields. We have some options here. This used to be kind of the way everyone did things, and we've kind of moved away from that with the identity theft and the PCI and compliance and things like that. So if you're using social security numbers, that is something you definitely need to make sure that you're handling in the proper way with a standard operating procedure. Here's, entering courses and waitlisting policies. There's a lot of things to think about. You can find this on our website. Let me get that pulled up. So if you go to our website to the resources, and then you click on guides, you can download that here at the standard operating procedure. There's some other things, and like this student manager maintenance schedule is actually also part of this standard operating procedure. Let me move back over there and we can take a look at that. So as we move through, just a lot of questions, things to think about for invoicing and reporting. Here's a place where you can schedule, like, what reports should we be running on a daily basis or at the end of a term, or things that we only need annually. So you can write the report area, where to find it, the name of the report, and the query you're using, like course number begins or registrations between two dates. And then, here is the maintenance schedule that I was just mentioning. So this is, list of tasks when we recommend to do it. Backup. I know probably folks are not doing it on a daily basis, but definitely on a weekly basis. And this is all editable. So if you want to change that to weekly or monthly, whatever schedule, and then you can assign who's responsible. We have heard that some folks take this sheet and laminate it, because then they can use like dry erase markers on it. So not necessarily the same person needs to do it every time. But as you can see, there are a lot of tasks that can be scheduled and things to think about for when you are creating your standard operating procedures. We even have a place in here for calling your technician if that is something you want to do, and then just some notes for you to reference back to. Any questions so far? Okay. So again, that's the URL to our help guide and to our standard operating procedure. And then again, if you have any questions, this is pretty straight to the point. We recommend, again, standard operating procedure. It's just going to help you get everyone in the same groove, and so that that I am entering the same information in the same way that Tanisha is entering information, if we're in the same system, as far as like addresses, email addresses, making sure that we're just asking for as much of the same information. I know with a lot of us, that is handled by student manager, or I'm sorry, ACEware, when they're, signing up for their online account, asking those questions. But that is also something that you want to look at and make sure that we're getting that right information off the bat. I know that there's a lot of state reporting that you have to ask a bunch of demographic questions. And when they're setting their ACEware account up, we can have them answer those questions, so you're not chasing them down later to get that information. Me You guys should be seeing my student manager now. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. On so a couple of places that you can take a look at where how folks are set up and in relation to the standard operating procedures. The first one is going to be in their password maintenance. If you go to tools and then password maintenance, this is going to show you their user ID. This is where you can change their password. But this access levels right here is where like you can set if someone, as you can see, this particular person is in the admin group. So they've got sixes in all of the access levels. But if we change them, for example, to the register, they don't have quite as much access in the different systems because they're just registering folks. So you can customize that for the different, and then if you want that to make any of those changes and have it apply to the whole group, you can do that with the edit group access levels. So that is, if you have groups of folks doing certain kinds of functions, you can set them all up in the same way so that you don't have to go in and individually set them up. Um, you can also edit the preferences for for individuals. You would, as a keeper of the flame, you can remove their ability to change some of the preferences. So, let's open that up. So, here on the preferences screen, anything that is in black text is a user by user preference. Blue is a global preference, and things that are in purple, only someone who is noted as an admin can change. But so, for example, if you want them to have a label turned on and you want everyone to have that label turned on, you can lock them out of changing the preferences so they can't take out the fax number. And you could relabel that. When you relabel it, it's going to be global, but that helps in so that you know that everyone can see the same things when they look, because as there's so many fields that if you have it turned off, you could be missing something huge. These like homeowner household income, a lot of units use those fields as alternative demographic questions. We have the gender and ethnicity questions on the name demographics tab, but also, some folks have to answer questions about income and, just so many different questions that you could need to answer. How much college do they have? Or did they complete high school? Things like that. And we repurpose these fields. So we want to make sure that if you are doing that, everyone can see it. Any questions? Okay. Well, I really want to stress that if you don't have a standard operating procedure, we really recommend that you do have one, and that your technician, if you have some questions about how often you should be doing things, or um, like the archiving or deactivating courses, mostly that's on a like end of the term basis, going back a certain number of years. But that's all stuff that you can determine with your unit and your tech and start setting those procedures up so that you have something going forward. We will not have a webinar next month, but in September, we're going to do student manager maintenance, and that is kind of ties directly in with this one about when you should be, archiving, when you should be deactivating both names and courses. And I did also want to mention, while we're all here together, we are having for the first time in several years a users conference. We're going to have everyone get together face to face. It's going to be in Kansas City. We're going to have a lot of sessions about maintenance and security for kind of more towards IT professionals. We're also going to be launching some new products. And you'll be, if you come, one among the first to see those items. Well, I'm going to give you guys back the last 10 minutes unless you have questions.
No, but thank you so much.
All right. Well, you guys have a
Yes,
great rest.
thank you.
And if you want the links again, just shoot me an email and I can get those sent to you.
Sounds good. Thank you so much again.
All right. You guys have a great day. Thank you.
You too. Bye.